Good morning, Jai Hind, and welcoming Captain Prabhunath Singh, who is right now the Associate or rather Assistant Vice President with G4S Securities. He's also the National Manager for Google account, which is a very, very strategic account for the business. And he has been in the industry for approximately now 2 odd decades, closing to 2 decades, a short service officer from the infantry. Today, we have invited him to give us some perspective for officers who are coming out of Forge after full tenure or maybe 25, 30 plus years of service as to what kind of a career they can carve for themselves in the security domain. So, thank you for joining us today, Prabhu. And we would seek some of your gen on this particular aspect.
Thanks a lot, Vipul, for hosting me. And it's always a pleasure to share whatever little we know, which could help our brother officers during their transition.
Now, Prabhunath, in a couple of earlier discussions, we covered about the career path which can be recommended for short service officers and also did a kind of a comprehensive discussion. This particular talk, I would like to understand how the senior officers, those who come after PMR 23, 24, or maybe on superannuation, and even the senior ranked officers, brigadiers and generals and above, what kind of security roles or what kind of industry positions they can be looking at or targeting after a long stint with the armed forces?
So, Vipul, I see a very bright career for them. The people who are coming in senior ranks or after having put in 25 plus years, because it's more about industry perception. It's not about mine or their own perception. It's what industry perceives about them. So, industry perceives them as natural fit for senior positions in the security, and it has got various logical reasons to it. Because one primary reason is their rank, because it's security is a function where there's a lot of interaction with the external stakeholders, whether it could be law and order, it could be fire, it could be medical compliances, ESI, PF. So these functions are, of course, these are government bodies. So any 4G officer, senior officer, has definitely a lot of experience of interacting with these functionaries during his or her career in the armed forces. So it becomes easy for the corporates to bring in two people with similar mindset, or people who understand each other, and then they could address the issues concerning both the sides in a much better way than compared to somebody who's not aligned to the functioning of the government agency. So that's one broader skill fit for the armed forces officer for the corporate function. I mean, in general. Then beyond this, there are many other skills which are also a great value for the corporates. That's why they look for these officers into the security function.
Okay. So now, having said that, would you say that there is a need for any kind of an additional certification or qualifications for the senior officers if they want to enter security? And if the need is, and what would be a recommended qualification or certification?
Yeah, definitely there is a need, and more so I'll say it's the need is for aligning the mindset rather than any qualification per se, because these officers are adequately qualified. But however, notwithstanding that, no, as I've shared during my other interactions as well, having a relevant certification becomes a basic qualification criteria so that your resume gets filtered. For example, in security, we know that CPP is a desired certification. I'm not saying that if these officers don't do that, they won't get. But more than the value of the certification in terms of document, it's align the senior officers to understand how the corporate security works, because it may not be similar, it definitely not similar to the security functions of the armed forces. So if they go through these course contents and certification, it gives them a perspective, and they will hardly take any time to understand. These books are not as thick as the staff college material or the material they have to go through during their 4G courses. But it just aligns them to reality of the corporate security function, and also gives a very positive impact to the recruiter that this gentleman, in spite of having put in 20, 25 years, is very progressive in nature. He has a learner mindset, a growth mindset, that he is ready to undergo these courses so that he brings in more value to the table once we hire him. So it's a win-win situation for both the officer as well as the the hiring manager and the corporate, so which are going to take work out of positions for which these officers are. That's my take on it. So it's good to have at least one certification. That would be CPP for the reasons we discussed.
So CPP can be a starting point, and that should kind of give them a break and a broad understanding of the corporate security environment.
Yes. It's for officers who are interested to come into security. If they wish to go into other segments, of course, there are different certifications. But we are discussing security, so I think CPP is good enough for them.
Okay. Now, since you have already said that the industry is kind of okay with senior officers joining security, even 25, 30, 35 years of experience, senior ranks and all, for how long do they engage them in jobs? And I mean, let's say if they start hitting 60s, then what kind of a prospects these officers can look for?
So, Vipul, generally the retirement age varies between 58 to 60, right? So, officer has to align to the realities of the workplace and the regulations around it, because generally most of the organization will have this retiring bracket. Beyond this, if the value which the officer brings is huge or immense, he can obviously work or as a consultant, as an advisor, and there's a lot of work on this side of the arena as well, where beyond the official norm, there's a lot of work which goes to people with hardcore domain experience or expertise, or who have created a very unique niche for them in security functions like investigation, risk consulting, site evaluations. So there's a lot of work as a consultant, as a freelancer, but definitely not on the payroll, because the guidelines of the companies are like that at 58 and 60 we have to part ways officially.
Okay, I'll ask you a last question, and then a slightly pointed and a difficult one here. I'm sure you also interact with a lot of officers when they are coming out, and meet them when they're interviewing for jobs, or general discussions when they are trying to understand the industry. And so by the time the officers have put in 25, 30, 35 years of service, they start developing some ideas. And so my question would be, what are those insights you would say that these officers should be aware of, so that they don't carry a sense of overconfidence that they know everything about corporate security, and which they may not be knowing, or the glaring differences between what they assume corporate security to be and what it is not.
Yeah, Vipul, that's a very, very relevant question, and many officers, step on the wrong side of the corporate norms in terms of understanding these functions. And it's a very difficult take. I don't know how people will perceive when I say this. So there are some of the areas which we have to be mindful of. And for senior officers, I'll say that it's more of unlearning than learning, which will help them succeed in their corporate careers. So, during one of the sessions, I highlighted few pointers. Maybe they may hold true for everyone, all of us, not only senior officers, but every Fauji who wants to come out of the corporate sector, or wants to do well. It's primarily that let's not be in a hurry to judge anyone in the CVs, right? Let's not judge anyone based on his caste, creed, color, height, weight, look, the way he talks or prefers. Let it be his own personal choice. We should only focus on, what interaction or what value I'm going to derive out of it. And whoever and wherever is in the corp sector is based on certain values the organization has brought him or her. So let's not be in hurry to judge that whether we are better or we are worse off. Let's see him as an asset to the organization and interact him with in that particular manner, or within those parameters of he being an asset to the company. That's why he or she is there. Then ranks we have discussed. It's a very sensitive issue, and this is your most prized possession. Please use it very, very judicially, and use it in the right context, in the right set of people, in the right manner. Use it, don't throw it. Probably would be one. Then you'll have to be flexible in terms of taking orders from people who are much younger to you. They may not order directly the way we do in Forge, but order in terms of hierarchy, that they are senior. These guys are seniors because they have followed a different path. So that's why they're there. They're in the business function. So if we are ready to work, interact with those people, and don't see them as juniors who have luckily got some position, then we are better off, because that's how the corporate structure works. Then we have to have the project manager's mindset, because corporate won't give us an ever stretched deadline. So everything will have to be done within a particular parameter in terms of budget, deliverables. We should be good with numbers. Generics won't work too much, so we'll have to be specific. I know a proximity towards understanding the financials would be helpful, because even if you're heading a function, security function, you will have to run the budgets for your function. You'll have to justify when you're asking it. You'll have to justify when you're not spending it. If you have to ask something, then you have to create a report and then get the approval. So familiarity with numbers, formulas, financials will help. And ability to work with multiple stakeholders, viewing them as equal partners, and not working in a silo, would be a great asset. And not treating, there's no room for any foul language or any command. It has to be all professionals, whether you like it or not. Even the smallest of the person, you cannot take him for granted. Any one complaint and the career is finished. So behaviorally, we have to align and be mindful. Every organization will have its own specific culture, but these are generally the broader work culture of corporates. Respect for everyone. Don't judge anyone. Everyone is equal. Designation wise, we may have our own. Then a familiarity to work online is also great. You should not ask everyone to be present in all the meetings. That's not a productive way. We all should be work oriented rather than attendance oriented. So these are some of the changes, and we have to be quite agile. One task now, another for the next time. Things would be parallel, multiple reportings. So it's more of behavioral and mind game. Skill wise, they are well equipped. So no one can beat them at skill, but it's more of behavioral, more of accepting the new culture and aligning. And one would that all the forges are great bearing and physical, but don't be over bearing. Don't intimidate from your bearing. Let your bearing be an inspiration rather than being an intimidation. Then gender sensitivity. We can't use the words which you use in our journal lingo. Even one slip, nobody will accept. In Forge, people will accept whatever words you use. So gender sensitivity, then sensitivity towards other elements of LGBTQ and all. We cannot throw any loose comment on, because these are diversity. These are big and very, very important aspects of any of the multinationals working in India these days. So I think if you are mindful of these sentiments around the workplace, we are.
So from what I understand from your last answer is that the what skills are there, what to do. The shift needs to be done in terms of how to do it, because the corporate milieu is different than the uniform milieu. So the how needs to be worked upon.
Yes. It's more of behavioral. The culture part of it is more difficult than the work part of it. Work, they are the experts. This.
Thank you so much, Captain Prabhunath. That was very, very relevant and revealing. And I hope that the senior officers who want to be a part of the corporate security setups, they would be able to gather some insights from our discussion. Thank you so much for your time.